to our guy, Al Bernstein. Let's bring him on here on the program and talk a little bit about what's going on. Al, Matt, and Dave, how are you? Welcome to BVB. Thank you for being here on Fight Week. I know you're very busy, but welcome to BVB.
Good to be with you guys.
All right, so let's talk about a fight that everyone's been waiting for a really long time here with Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. I spent a lot of time in Omaha. I met Bud way before he became the thing of Bud Crawford. Everybody in Omaha kind of knew who he was going to be, but 39-0 against 28-0. Handicap this fight a little bit, the hype, the excitement. It's finally here on Saturday night. How excited are you to watch these two guys finally get into a ring together?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be ringside to be able to call this fight. In a historical perspective, it ranks, I think, very high on the list of matches I've called. And over 42 years, I've called a lot of big boxing matches, but this one is very high on the list. Two best welterweights of their era, two of the best fighters in boxing. And every boxing always has that one fight that is the poster kid for fights not being made, even though boxing's been making really, really good fights the last several years. This one did get made finally, and it's a very good stylistic matchup. I was joking to somebody the other day. I do the keys to victory on every broadcast. It took me 5 minutes to write the keys to victory for this, which is rare for a fight that has so many unanswered questions and so many variables, but it's a very simple fight, in some respects. Terrence Crawford, a very athletic fighter who has come up in weight from 135 pounds. He's got good mobility. He switches from righty to lefty. He is an excellent counterpuncher who wants to control the range in his fight. When he knocked down Sean Porter with a counterpunch in his last fight, he wants to be the person controlling the range and using his mobility, but still throwing power punches from a counter position. For Errol Spence, he wants to jab his way in, move his head while he's doing it, get inside and work the body. He's one of the best body punchers in boxing. And then later in the fight, when he feels like he has softened Terrence Crawford up a little bit, land a really good right hook or a straight left hand that he hopes will change the dynamic of the fight. So it's a wonderful style matchup. And it has the makings of a great fight.
Al, Dave here. Pleasure to meet you in person for the first time. But I'm from Pittsburgh originally, and we got Pittsburgh guys that I know. So Moses, the barber, friend of mine, said that he knows Walt Aminio from Newcastle and said to be sure to tell Al that he knows Walt. So we're clear there. The other thing I wanted to ask you is the fight total is 10.5. It's a huge minus 240 to the over. Is there any reason why we could expect this fight to not go to distance? Because that number tells me it's going to distance.
Yeah, it could not go the distance because both these men have the potential to knock the other one out. Crawford could do it because Spence walks into one of those big counter punches. Spence could do it because he walks him down and he deals out a lot of punishment and then maybe gets a TKO stoppage, but that wouldn't come probably till the later rounds. So I think the over-under in terms of the rounds is a sensible one because it is likely this fight is going a number of rounds. Whether it goes the distance is another question.
In terms of the way or the pace of the fight, Crawford by decision seems to be the way most people are predicting this fight. But if it goes to the cards, can Spence win a decision against a fighter like Terrence Crawford here in Vegas?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, no question, because if the fight goes the way Errol Spence wants it to go, and he's walking Crawford down and he's landing big body shots and he's breaking him down, that would mean he's winning rounds dramatically. Now, of course, we can never, the judging in boxing, this may be shocking to hear, has occasionally not been fair. I know that's a shock to everyone, but there is certainly a way for Spence to win by decision because he can if the fight's going his way, in fact, you can make a case that he might be dominating rounds even more than Crawford.
We argue about this all the time. Matt and I do. We argue about everything on this show, but that's what part of the show is. Is open scoring, like, would it help boxing or would it hurt boxing? Like, I think it's an automatic at some point, because the drama of not knowing the score is one thing, but then having bad decisions come out after, I think, is worse. How do you feel about, at some point, do you think we can see it? And what is it, a good thing or a bad thing?
There have been, I have announced fights where they're open scoring. There have been, on occasion, experiments done with that. And it was a mixed bag when they did the open scoring. Sometimes it seemed like it helped, and other times it didn't. Listen, the problem is, even after fights, when we know the judges, and we've seen a judge deliver a scorecard that just about everybody agrees is uniformly bad, there isn't always accountability. So I don't know if having the open scoring during it will make any more accountability. So even if we know fight card is wrong. Now, of course, the lure of open scoring is that if some boxer that thinks he's winning the fight isn't winning the fight, it gives him a sense of urgency that, right, okay, these guys are not doing me correct, so I really have to step on the gas pedal. And boxing is the only sport, or one of the few, where you don't know where you stand as you compete. I mean, there's very few, other than figure skating, and gymnastics.
Diving.
Most sports, exactly where you stand. So it's been a debate for a long, long time. And boxing is not a sport that embraces change very well.
Yeah. Al, we'll go back talking about boxing here in just 1 second, but not only is it a fight week, it's a big week for you with Al Bernstein live. Now, Dave and I spend a lot of time at the Tuscany now because we're running this proxy service. So we're spending time there and downtown at Circa, both books there. But you got a big week on July 27th. Tell us a bit about the show you got put on here on July 27th and who you're bringing on with you for this event.
Yeah, the first time this is kind of reviving a tradition. Way back in 1987, I did a show the 3 nights leading up to Hagler Leonard. I was having dinner with the president of Caesar's Palace about 3 months before that fight, and he said, "You do music, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, we had Barry McGuigan's dad in here, who was a pub singer in Ireland, before his fight for 3 days. You're going to do 3 nights before the Hagler-Leonard fight." So I said, "Oh, okay." I didn't have an act. I didn't have a band. I used to sit in with people. So what I was thinking, I have no idea. Well, okay, I woodshed, get an act together, get a band, do the whole thing, and then walk out there on opening night. And there's, sitting in front of me is John Madden and, Cary Grant, believe it or not, who was there at the fight. I mean, yeah, I could go on and on, all these people, and I'm going, what did I get myself into? But it went well. And then during that era, I did a lot of musical shows at Caesar's Palace before the big fights. Then in the 2000s and the late 1990s, I did shows at Mandalay Bay. And so it became kind of a when I could do it, a tradition. I thought for this fight, what better fight than to revive it? And I do a lot of performing at the Tuscany, as you know. That Piazza Lounge there is a hotbed of great music, and so
love it.
I thought, the perfect place for me to do it. It's kind of a home away from home for me. So we're going to have on Thursday night, we're going to have an 8 o'clock and a 9:30 show. No cover charge, just come on in. We're going to do music. I do Great American Songbook, blues, country, a lot of special material. And we're also going to do boxing trivia with some prize giveaways. We got great prizes from Showtime, including 2 sets of 2 tickets to a future Showtime fight. And we're going to have a fun party.
I'll be there. I'm just deciding right now. You just sold me, Al. I'm coming. I will
look forward to seeing you. And by the way, my wife will be there, who is also a Pittsburgh native.
Well, then we'll have to kibitz about that too. We're gonna talk about that. Yeah, but so I've been in Vegas 20 years. All right, it's hot as hell right now. Okay. People need a reason to come to Vegas. Now they can come watch your show as well as to come to the fight. Is this going to draw a big crowd? Are we expecting, from what you hear, is the buzz real? And is this Saturday night going to be like one of those kind of electric fight weeks?
Yeah, of course, the T-Mobile is sold out and has been for ever. Oh, they sold this fight out immediately. So that crowd is a guarantee. The question is, and I alluded back to those fights at Caesar's Palace in the old days when, Las Vegas was literally, aflame when those big fights happened. One of the questions is, how much does this fight create that kind of excitement? They are they're at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. They're doing the theater,
showing. You're right. Pay-per-view showing. You're right.
Theater event there.
Closed circuit.
Closed circuit. They're expecting to fill that up. So there's no question there's going to be a lot of people in town. I just did a radio show in Omaha, and lots of folks are coming here from Omaha.
Al, do you have to take that?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. No, if you did, that's
there was nobody important because you guys are more important.
Thank you, appreciate that.
But they're so the folks from Omaha excited to come, and I think this fight is going to be one of those that creates just a really special moment here in Las Vegas.
For those people,
a lot's going to depend, and we're in that final week.
Yeah.
The mainstream sports media, they yell about fights that boxing doesn't make. This was one of those fights. I hope they follow suit and give this fight a lot of coverage toward the end, because if you want it, and I'm not saying they have any obligation to make the event bigger. That's not what sports journalism's about. It's not you're under no obligation to cover things. But if you're beating the drums for this fight and it gets made, then I think it'd be a nice idea if you covered it.
Yeah, I would agree. So in Omaha,
you guys are doing right here.
In Omaha, obviously, Bud is known. People love him because he's a native son. But Bud's not the biggest of personalities. Bud does not like giving interviews, doesn't like talking. He doesn't like to trash talk in the media or on Twitter. It's not his personality to do that. And he's been criticized quite regularly for that. He left Top Rank. Thus, this fight was able to be made. I don't think Bud will ever become, he'll never be a De La Hoya type. He's never going to run his mouth and talk. But if he wins this fight, does it open up a new audience to him if he's sitting there with a record of 40-0, given the fact that Mayweather at 50-0, everyone, a billboard in Vegas for months after that 50-0 win over McGregor. What does 40-0 do if Crawford wins?
Well, I think, number one, this fight is going to get more attention than any other fight he's had, and is getting that. And maybe more people will see it, perhaps, than anyone has seen his fight. And a win here would certainly vault him to another level. What that level looks like, I don't know, because of all the things you pointed out. Is he likely to go get himself 10 endorsements from this? Maybe not, because that's not who he is. That isn't his modus operandi. And this fight, by the way, sells itself based on the fight, not two outsized personalities. What was it? Chris Mannix got in trouble when he said the Denver Nuggets were boring, right? Because they didn't have a lot of side stories, which I thought was an absurd statement, by the way. Because the Denver Nuggets are one of the most interesting basketball teams I've seen in 20 years. I mean, they're fascinating on every level. But so sometimes, you don't have drama outside the ring or outside the court or the baseball diamond.
Isn't the event itself enough, Al? Like, is it sometimes the event itself or the competitors themselves enough?
Yeah, well, I think it should be when it's a great sporting event, and we're going to find that out, aren't we? Because that's what this fight is. This fight is the two best guys that you can put in a ring just about these days in boxing, and certainly the two best welterweights with a lot of historical importance to it. So this event, if you are a boxing fan or even a casual boxing fan who's a sports fan that likes to see big boxing matches, this is a great fight. So
yeah.
I personally, and I mean, I don't need, if I want to see a great basketball game or a great football game or a great hockey game or a great fight, I don't really need anything else other than the match, because after all, that's what I'm watching. So, and presumably it should be a fight that will resonate.
Last one for me, Al. We've been talking about the traffic here in Vegas on this show a lot. Have you been driving around this town, Al, and trying to get around? And do you realize is the traffic bad for you? Is it bad for us?
Well, I'll tell you, here's the funny thing about that. When I go certain places in Las Vegas, I literally never drive.
Oh, you have a driver?
When they invented Uber, it became a life-changing experience for many people. I am one of those people. And I went to the Smith Center to see a show. I went, which is near downtown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the Strip a bunch of times for fights we've had where I've had to go for meetings. And this week is a perfect example. I haven't driven to the Strip in about a year.
That's a genius move.
It is.
And I just feel it relieves the stress for me. So if I can, so hopefully that's a helpful comment.
Last one. This is an interesting matchup because you have a taller Spence against a longer reach, 5'8", 2 inch shorter, but a longer reach Crawford.
Yeah.
So he'll be punching up in a way with a longer reach. Do you see the reach advantage being a bigger advantage than the height advantage for Crawford in this fight?
Yeah, that's a very good question. For Spence, part of the reason that reach kind of helps him a little bit is because he does want to get inside, and the reach helps him do that. So he's not going to fight. He probably doesn't want to fight this fight at long range. So some might say, well, then the reach is negated. No, because that means that jab that he throws has a better chance to get there, or at least pave the way for him to get on the inside. And as you said, Crawford is the height edge. I think for Crawford, more important than the height edge is going to be his mobility and his ability to use angles and spin fighters. He's very adept at spinning a fighter. He'll try and spin Spence and make it so that Spence can't hit him.
Al Bernstein Live will take place July 27th, 8 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. shows in the Piazza Lounge at the Tuscany Suites and Casino, which is just off the Strip. And then we have pay-per-view, Showtime, Spence and Crawford, Saturday night here in Las Vegas from T-Mobile Arena. It's going to be a busy
week. I hope I don't forget and get on the broadcast and start singing a song. That would be
good. Al, good stuff, man. Have a great call and enjoy the event.
See you Thursday night.
We'll see you Thursday night.
See you guys Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.
That is Al Bernstein joining us